Namaste. I am Professor Dr. Pramod K. Raghav, Professor of Food Technology, Faculty of Agriculture and Veterinary Science, Jayoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. Today's topic is physical methods of waste disposal or waste management. There are several physical methods available, and which method we have to employ for which waste, it depends upon the identification of the waste, what type of waste we are getting from the food industry. So there are many physical methods. Different physical treatment processes are available. They are simple and low cost, and the choice, as I told before, depends upon the type of waste and its characteristic. The methods which are popular and are frequently used for treating the waste from the food industries are machine processing, thermal processes, incineration. I am sure that you all are well aware with incineration, pyrolysis, screening, oil separation, sedimentation. The name itself is suggesting a little bit about the method. Floatation, landfilling, compaction, filtration, and burial. So these were some popular methods of physically treating the waste or physically disposing of the waste. First method I told was machine processing of waste. So what do you mean by machine processing? If I give an example, crushing the waste. If the waste has bigger portions, bigger part in it, then we do the crushing, divide it, mix it, homogenize it. So that comes under machine processing. Similarly, compaction is another method. In that compaction, what we do, we reduce the spaces, and actually it is compression of the waste. And then recovery is another processing method in which separation of material from the waste which are recyclable or which can be recycled. So these three sub methods, like you can say the operations like crushing, compaction, compression, and recovery come. The second process is the thermal process. Thermal process is defined as the combination of temperature and the time required to eliminate waste product. So we can say thermal process is scientific name, but in layman language, what we call that burning of the waste. So direct burning of the waste, that is known as the thermal process. But this process has a lot of disadvantages. First of all, it has direct disadvantage of the pollution in the environment. The burning of that waste will create some harmful gases such as carbon dioxide. Plus, there will be a lot of particulate matter in the surrounding environment. And thirdly, the ash, tons of amounts of ash will be created in this direct burning or direct firing of the waste. So managing that ash will be again a challenging issue and a problem for the waste disposable or waste managers. So this method is not much popular nowadays, and this method is not promoted much. Direct burning or direct firing of the waste is avoided. Third method is the incineration. Incineration is a method where the waste, especially the hazardous waste, and sometimes the waste from the food industry such as meat, seafood, fish, and poultry industries, the waste may be hazardous. So at some point in limited quantity, we may have to incinerate that. So the process of incineration is a waste treatment process that involves the combustion of solid waste at 1000 degrees Celsius in a furnace. So at a very high temperature, approximately at a very high temperature of 1000 degrees Celsius, we incinerate, we burn it in a furnace. And the furnace itself is called as incinerator, and the this burning is done in a controlled manner, And what incineration is doing, it is directly converting, it is converting the entire waste into the ash and the flue gases, and the flue gases can be dispersed into the atmosphere, but first they have to be cleaned, they must be cleaned of any gaseous and particulate pollutants. So that was the third process of incineration. And yes, it is in very much in use, especially if I talk about the disposal of the or the management of the hospital waste or the medical waste. It is mostly used. Next is the pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is defined as thermal degradation of waste. We degrade thermally the waste in the absence of air to produce char, which is known as coal, pyrolysis oil, and syngas. So, in this pyrolysis, we are doing the thermal degradation of the waste in the absence of air to produce the coal, pyrolysis oil, and syngas. It is also defined as the destructive distillation. Destructive distillation of the waste in the absence of oxygen means anaerobically, when we are doing thermal degradation of the waste, that is known as pyrolysis. And in this, the heat is employed as an external source. Next method of the physical method of the solid waste is the screening. Screening is nothing but simply, if I say in Hindi, छानना, जिसको हम कहते हैं strain करना. So screen is device with openings. It has narrow openings depending upon again what type of waste you are treating, what type of waste you are managing. So a screen is used. So a screen is a device with openings generally of uniform size that is used to retain the coarse solids found in wastewater. Suppose you have to treat the water and you have to employ the physical method. So the first thing I will do is that I will use a screen to separate all the solid particles out of that wastewater. And that is the first unit of operations encountered in waste water treatment plant is screening. So this is a physical method, and according to the size of openings, screens are designated as coarse screen or fine screen. Coarse screens have openings of quarter inch. So if the openings are of quarter inch, they are known as coarse screen. If it is more than quarter inch or more, that is coarse screen. If it is less than quarter inch, then it is known as fine screens. So the screens are divided into two parts. So this method is known as screening. Next method is oil separation. So what is oil separation? Simple. It is a process in which floatables, namely non-emulsified oil and organics, separate from the waste water. Means whatever the oil is there, whatever the non-emulsified oil is there, whatever the organics is there, whatever the floatables there, they are separated from the wastewater by using the oil separation method. And next is the sedimentation. Sedimentation, as the name is suggesting, sedimentation is the separation of undissolved substances from the water or from the wastewater by gravitational setting. Means what we do, we fill the water in a reservoir, in a small reservoir, or in a small container or something. And what is happening by method of gravitational, the impurities, they are settling down in the bottom, and that is known as sedimentation, and clear water comes on the top. So sedimentation again is the separation of undissolved substances from water by gravitational setting of suspended particles that are heavier than water. Means the particles which were heavier than water, they were suspending in the water. By this method, by the method of sedimentation, because of gravity, they settles down at the bottom, and this method is known as sedimentation method. Sedimentation is mainly used for the separation of particulate matter in the water, separation of biological matter, which we call the sludge, separation of chemical flock in the sludge, and it is also used for solid concentrations in the sludge thickness. So whatever is suspending in the wastewater, that, because of gravity, goes down to the bottom is and known as sediment, and this method is known as sedimentation. And sedimentation basins actually it is done in a basin, not a reservoir. Sedimentation basins are constructed in a variety of shapes and sizes, circular tanks or rectangular tanks, and the basin is comprised of 4 zones according to the function. A basin has the 4 zones: inlet zone, settling zone, sludge zone, and outlet zone. Means the water will come, which is inlet zone. We will give it time to settle down, that is settling zone, and where it will settles down and it start forming layers in the bottom, that is sludge zone, and then outlet zone from where I will take out the clear water. So these are the 4 zones in a settling tank or settling basins. Next method of the physical method of the waste treatment is flotation. So as the name suggests, flotation means to make the impurities float on the surface of the wastewater and to collect them. So flotation is a unit of operation used to separate solid or liquid particles from a liquid phase. So separation is brought by introducing fine gases, usually air bubbles, into the liquid phase. So you have a liquid phase, so we introduce air bubbles in that, and the bubbles attach to the particulate matter, which is in the liquid phase, and the buoyancy force of the combined particle and the gas bubble is enough to cause the particle to rise to the surface to form a scum blanket, which is removed by skimming mechanism. So this mechanism is taking place, and the from the liquid phase, all right, we separate the solid by using this flotation method. And principal advantage of flotation over sedimentation is that very small or light particles that settles slowly can be removed more completely and in a shorter time by using this flotation method. In sedimentation, heavier particles, but what about the lighter particles? The particles which takes time in settling down, with the help of air bubbles, we bring them to the surface of the water and make them float and separate them. That method is known as method of flotation. Types of flotation system: air flotation and vacuum flotation. It is of 2 types. In air flotation, air bubbles are formed by introducing the gas phases directly into the liquid phase. In liquid phase, I introduce the gas phase, and air bubbles are formed. That is known as air flotation method. In vacuum flotation, this process involves the saturating the wastewater with air, either directly in an aeration tank, and this flotation occurs, and that's how we separate these lighter impurities. So 2 types of flotation: air flotation and vacuum flotation. Next is landfill. Landfill is very common and old method. It is the most traditional method also of disposing of the waste. In this method, waste is directly dumped into the voids, into the burrow pits or low-lying areas if we want to bring them up, and later on we want to level them up. So what we do, we start dumping the waste there right away. Disposing waste is first compacted. It is covered with soil gas. Soil gases generated by the decomposing waste materials are often burnt to generate power also. So when you dispose of the waste, you covered it with the soil, you compacted it. Sometimes the gases may be generated. not always. Then you can, there are technologies which you can employ to tap those gases and use those gases for generation of the power. And let me tell you one thing, this landfill method is generally used for domestic waste. But yes, since you are dumping, so you can dump the food industry waste also if you don't have any other method in place to treat the waste. Compaction is a method which is also a method. In this method, the waste is compacted or compressed by external pressure. By this way, you reduce the volume of the waste, and it is also breaks up large or fragile items of the waste, and it becomes smaller in volume, and then you can dispose it off. Manure pits, this is the most popular method, and what I should say that this is the most profitable method of converting waste to money. The waste, especially the organic waste, especially the biodegradable waste, which we were supposed to treat by other methods or which we were supposed to dump, can be converted into the manure, into the compost by using compost pit and manure pits. Okay, and this is nowadays lot of institutions, lot of offices, lot of residential buildings, complexes, they are using this method, and by using this method they are generating their own compost or own manure. And it is not a rocket science. In this, simply manure pits are dug, and especially the biodegradable waste, the garbage, the cattle dung, the straw, the farm waste, the leaves, they are dumped in these manure pits and covered with the earth, and some water is sprinkled, and time to time, they are monitored, and in 5 6 month time it converts itself into the nice compost or the manure. And that's how what this method did. This method converted the waste to value, to money, to useful stuff. So that is the manure method or the compost method of, and is a physical method of disposing of or managing the waste. And the next method is burial, as I told in the beginning. So burial is a good method if the waste is very small and you don't have resources, or to invest even little money to treat the waste. And it is good if you are temporarily staying in a place, or you are temporarily making some product on site where you don't have all the arrangements. So you can take the help of burial to remove the waste. Simply a trench is dig in this, and that trench must be of should be of like 1.5 meter wide and 2 meter deep, that is excavated or digged. And then whatever the waste is put into that, and that is covered with a layer of soil, well compacted, and that's it, you are done. And what you have actually done, you have buried all of your waste, and it needs at least 4 to 6 month duration to convert them all into the just degrade them. And remember one thing, that better you bury the waste, only bury the waste which is degradable, because if you're gonna bury the waste which is not degradable, then you may face some problems as the time passes. Third and sorry last method of waste treatment is the dumping. And as the name suggests, means just dump. It is the practice of transferring waste, either is industrial waste, especially if it is waste from food industry, you can dump that. Just take it from one place to another place and just get rid of it. You just dump it, just to throw it, and then you're not worried what is happening with this. And there may be the different sites may be selected for dumping of the different type of waste. So this method even not popular and not likable and not advised. So avoid this method, avoid the dumping method, let me tell you, and avoid the direct burning or direct fire method. However, all other methods which I explained, yes, they can very well be used. Also avoid the burial method if possible. Carry your waste with you. Bring it to a useful site. Bring it to a place where it can be treated well. So that was all about today's lecture, physical methods of waste management. Thank you.